The text message arrived while I was arranging flowers in my shop. "You're not invited to Emma's wedding," David wrote. "We don't want you ruining her special day." My hands shook as I set down the roses I'd been trimming, the same blush pink variety I'd already ordered for my daughter's bridal bouquet. My name is Olivia Walker, and at 45, I never imagined I'd be banned from my own daughter's wedding, especially not after spending the last 6 months secretly paying for every detail of her dream day. I sat down at my workbench, surrounded by the sweet scent of fresh flowers and memories. Emma had practically grown up in this shop, sitting at this very bench, watching me create arrangements while doing her homework. Back then, she'd tell me about her dream wedding, the flowers, the dress, the venue. Even at 12, she knew exactly what she wanted. "Mom, when I get married, I want peonies and roses everywhere," she'd say, her eyes sparkling. "And it has to be at River Oak Gardens. Promise we'll make it perfect." I'd promised, of course. What mother wouldn't? But that was before David left us for his 28-year-old secretary when Emma was 16. Before he poisoned our daughter against me with lies about why our marriage ended, painting himself as the victim and me as the unstable, controlling ex-wife who drove him away. Now, 8 years later, David's new wife, Jessica, was playing mother of the bride, while I was apparently too toxic to even attend. My phone buzzed again. "This is for the best," David wrote. "Emma doesn't need the drama. Jessica's already handled all the arrangements anyway." I took a deep breath, fighting back a smile. "Oh, David, if you only knew." 6 months ago, when Emma announced her engagement, I knew David would try to take over. He'd always been about control and appearances, especially since becoming CEO of his company. But I also knew his dirty little secret. His gambling habit had finally caught up with him. His company was struggling, and he'd leverage everything he owned to keep it afloat. So I'd made some calls. Mr. Chin, my old family friend and Emma's godfather, had connections at River Oak Gardens. "The premier package," he'd said when I called. "For Emma, of course. I'll make sure they only deal with you directly." The venue was just the beginning. I coordinated with every vendor, always staying in the background, letting Jessica believe she was in charge. The flowers would come from my own shop, though I'd arranged for another florist to be the front for delivery. The cake, the catering, the music. I'd chosen everything based on those childhood conversations with Emma. Every detail matched to the dream wedding she described over the years. The irony was almost funny. Jessica had spent months planning a wedding that was already completely arranged and paid for. Every time she thought she was making a decision, she was actually just selecting from options I'd already secured. Another text from David. "Jessica's father is walking her down the aisle. Please respect our wishes and stay away." I set my phone down and walked to the back of my shop, where a hidden cooler held the bridal bouquet I'd been working on for weeks. Blushed pink roses, white peonies, and delicate baby's breath. Exactly what Emma had always wanted. I'd woven tiny pearls from my own wedding dress into the ribbon, a piece of family history Jessica wouldn't know to include. The door chimed and I quickly closed the cooler. Mr. Chen walked in, his face concerned. "Olivia, I just heard from David's secretary. Is it true?" I nodded, showing him the text. "He's banned me from the wedding." Mr. Chen's expression darkened. "After everything you've done, does he have any idea?" "No," I said, managing a small smile. "And that's exactly how I want it to stay. For now." He sat down heavily in my consultation chair. "The vendors are all asking about final payments. Everything's due next week. The money's already in escrow," I assured him. "Everything will be paid on time. David and Jessica won't have to worry about a thing." "And Emma?" he asked softly. "Does she know her mother arranged her dream wedding?" I shook my head, blinking back tears. "She thinks I abandoned her, just like David said. If she knew I was involved, she'd probably change everything just to spite me." Mr. Chen reached across the counter and squeezed my hand. "You're a better person than they deserve, Olivia." "Maybe," I said, looking at the wedding timeline pinned to my bulletin board. "But this isn't about them. It's about keeping a promise I made to my little girl when she was 12. My phone buzzed one more time. A message from Jessica. "I've handled everything perfectly. Emma will have the wedding she always wanted. No thanks to you." I looked at Mr. Chin and finally let myself laugh. "Well," I said, "she's not entirely wrong about that second part." The wedding was in 3 days. David and Jessica had no idea that their perfect plans were actually mine, paid for with the money I'd saved from a decade of running my flower shop. They didn't know about the special arrangements I'd made, the personal touches I'd added, or the surprises I'd planned. They thought they were keeping me away from my daughter's special day, but what they didn't realize was that I would be there in every detail, every flower, every carefully chosen element that would make Emma's childhood dreams come true. I picked up my phone and typed a response to David. "Don't worry, everything will be perfect." And for once, I knew exactly how right I was. The day before the wedding, I watched from my shop window as Jessica supervised the loading of her flower arrangements into the delivery van. She stood there in her designer outfit, checking things off her clipboard, completely unaware that every stem had been carefully selected and arranged by me over the past week. "The roses look a bit sparse," she complained to the delivery driver, actually my assistant Mike in a borrowed uniform. "Are you sure this is what we ordered?" "They'll open perfectly by tomorrow morning, ma'am," Mike replied, giving me a subtle wink through the window. The florist guaranteed it. I'd spent 15 years teaching Mike everything I knew about flowers. He understood exactly how to time the blooming of each rose for maximum effect. By the time Emma walked down the aisle, every bloom would be at its peak. My phone buzzed with a text from Mr. Chen. David just tried to put a down payment on the venue. Again. I smiled, remembering David's face when River Oak Gardens told him they had a strict policy against payment plans. He'd been so sure his status as a CEO would convince them to bend the rules. What he didn't know was that I'd already paid in full months ago. "How did he take it?" I texted back. "Not well. Jessica's throwing a fit about having to use their emergency fund." I felt a twinge of satisfaction, quickly followed by guilt. This wasn't about revenge. It was about Emma. Just then, I saw her walk past my shop. My heart clenched as she paused, looking at the window display. For a moment, I thought she might come in. We hadn't spoken in months, not since that disastrous dinner where David announced he would be paying for everything. A father's gift to his daughter, he declared grandly, no expense spared. Emma had looked at me with such disdain that evening. "Well, it's not like you could help anyway, Mom. You're just a florist." Just a florist. The words had stung, but not as much as watching my daughter walk away now, without even coming inside. My phone rang, the wedding coordinator I'd hired through Mr. Chen. "Mrs. Walker, we have a situation. The groom's mother is insisting on rearranging the seating chart. She says Mr. Harrison's specific requests about table arrangements don't make sense." I pinched the bridge of my nose. Of course, Jessica would try to change things at the last minute. She had no idea that the seating arrangements I planned took into account years of family dynamics, who could sit with whom, which relatives needed to be kept apart, which family friends should be honored with proximity to the main table. "Let her make her changes," I said quietly, "but keep the original chart. Trust me, by tomorrow morning she'll realize why things were arranged that way." After hanging up, I went to the back room where Emma's bouquet waited in its special cooler. I added the final touch, a tiny locket containing a photo of her grandmother, my mother, who had passed away when Emma was small. Emma probably wouldn't even notice it among the pearls and ribbons, but it mattered to me that a piece of our family history would be with her. The rest of the day passed in a blur of last-minute details. Every few hours brought a new crisis that I had to solve from behind the scenes. Jessica wanted to change the menu. David complained about the music selection. The groom's mother threatened to move the ceremony indoors despite the perfect weather forecast. Through it all, I kept remembering Emma at 12, sitting at my workbench, planning her perfect day. "Promise it'll be just like this, Mom," she'd said. "Promise you'll make it magical." At sunset, I drove to River Oak Gardens to do one final check. The staff, who knew the truth about who was really in charge, let me slip in through the service entrance. The garden was transforming exactly as I'd envisioned. Twinkling lights strung through the trees, flowers arranged to create natural aisles, every detail perfect. "The father of the bride was here earlier," one of the staff whispered, "trying to upgrade to champagne he hasn't paid for." I nodded, unsurprised. "The premium champagne will be delivered at 9 a.m., I said. "But don't tell them that. Let them think their complaints made it happen." As I turned to leave, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in one of the venue's windows. I looked tired but calm. Tomorrow, my daughter would have the wedding of her dreams, even if she never knew I was the one who made it happen. My phone buzzed one last time as I got into my car. A message from Emma. Mom, I know you're probably upset about not being invited, but Jessica has made everything so perfect. Maybe if you had put in this kind of effort when I was growing up, things would be different. I started the car, letting the tears I'd been holding back all day finally fall. Part of me wanted to tell her everything about the months of planning, the careful coordination, the savings I'd spent to make her dreams come true. But I didn't. Instead, I typed back, I hope your day is everything you've ever wanted, sweetie. And I knew it would be, because I had promised. The morning of the wedding dawned exactly as I'd hoped. Clear skies with a gentle breeze, perfect for carrying the scent of roses through the garden. I watched the final preparations through the security cameras Mr. Chen had arranged for me to access. Everything was falling into place. Jessica was already having her meltdown right on schedule. The premium champagne delivery had sent her into a confusion spiral. But we didn't pay for this upgrade, she kept telling the staff. There must be some mistake. David was no better, pacing the grounds in his tuxedo, making frantic calls about the string quartet that had mysteriously been upgraded to include a harpist, Emma's childhood dream edition that he deemed too expensive. Then I saw her. Emma stepped out of the bridal suite in her dress, and my heart stopped. She was beautiful, radiant, exactly as I'd always imagined she would be. The bouquet I'd crafted was perfect in her hands, the roses opened exactly as planned. Through the camera feed, I watched her touch the pearls woven into the ribbon, a puzzled expression crossing her face. My phone buzzed. Mr. Chen, it's time. I took a deep breath and pressed play on the video I prepared weeks ago. Within seconds, the large screen set up for the reception flickered to life across the venue. David and Jessica froze, staring at the images now playing. It was Emma at 12, sitting at my workbench, describing her dream wedding. Mom, promise it'll be just like this, her young voice echoed through the garden. The pink roses, the pearls, the harpist playing canon in D. The video continued, showing snippet after snippet I filmed over the years. Emma planning every detail of her future wedding while arranging flowers with me in the shop. Each element she described matched exactly what was now set up around them. Jessica's clipboard clattered to the ground. David's face had gone pale. But I was watching Emma, who stood transfixed, looking from the video to her bouquet, finally noticing her grandmother's locket tucked among the roses. Her hands were shaking as she opened it, finding the photo inside and the tiny note I tucked behind it. I promised to make it perfect. Love, Mom. Through the camera feed, I saw the exact moment understanding dawn in her eyes. She looked around at everything. The flowers, the lights, the precise arrangement she described as a child, and I saw her begin to cry. Where's my mother? I heard her ask through the audio feed. Where's Mom? David stepped forward, his face a mask of forced calm. Emma, sweetheart, let's not get distracted. Jessica arranged everything. No, Emma cut him off, her voice strong and clear. No more lies, Dad. These are Mom's roses. This is her work. I'd know it anywhere. She held up the bouquet. No one else would know to weave pearls into the ribbon. No one else would remember the exact shade of pink I wanted. She turned to Jessica, who was stammering about contracts and vendors. You didn't plan this wedding, did you? Before Jessica could respond, Mr. Chen stepped forward. No, she didn't. Your mother did. Every detail, every element, exactly as you dreamed it. She paid for everything months ago. The garden fell silent except for the gentle music of the harpist, still playing canon in D, just as 12-year-old Emma had requested in the video still playing on the screens. Why? Emma's voice broke. Why would she do all this and not tell me? I stepped out from behind the garden trellis where I'd been watching. Because you deserve your perfect day, I said softly, whether I was here or not. Emma turned, tears streaming down her face. For a moment, we just looked at each other. Then she ran to me, throwing her arms around me like she used to when she was small. I'm so sorry, Mom, she whispered, for everything. I held her close, careful not to wrinkle her dress. Don't be, sweetheart. Just be happy. That's all I ever wanted. She pulled back, wiping her eyes carefully to preserve her makeup. Will you walk me down the aisle? Please. I looked at David, who stood deflated but silent, and Jessica, who had finally run out of protests. Then I looked at my daughter, who was smiling at me with the same trust I remembered from all those years in the flower shop. "Of course," I said. "I promised to make this day perfect, didn't I?" As we took our places for the ceremony, I caught Mr. Chen's eye. He was grinning as he turned off the video screens, their job done. The truth was out, and my daughter was back in my arms. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't about getting even. Sometimes it's about keeping your promises even when no one expects you to, even when no one knows you're doing it. I had promised my daughter a perfect wedding, and that's exactly what she got. The fact that it exposed years of lies and manipulation was just a bonus that smelled like perfectly bloomed roses.